Obari
Good,
as he joins us from the nation's capital.
good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Lagos. Sorry, I'm late to join you.
Um, okay. I reach over now to say big good morning to AB Bozimo. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, Joseph. Good morning to everyone at Smooth FM and all the wonderful listeners.
So we are fired up to go this morning, and we head straight to AB to kick us off this morning with this one. We'd ask you to help us crack the kernel of this story, and let's see if it's got oil, or probably if it's like coconut, it's got water. Let's make the listeners see what it looks like. So Niger coup. Military option will be the last choice for ECOWAS. President Bola Tinubu speaking again, and that's according to the Nation newspaper. It's all yours now, AB.
He was speaking during a visit by the esteemed the Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, led by the Sultan of Sokoto. What I'm happy to hear in the story is less, in my perception, of a gung-ho attitude towards the kinetic option. Earlier on, it almost seemed as if some people were agitating for combat and war in a war that would be very difficult to prosecute, very expensive, hard to distinguish allies from foes and all that. But now he's saying forcefully that while it remains is the last option. And he went further to actually speak to one of the people who was visiting him, a former military leader of Nigeria. And he mentioned that leader did a 9-month transition period. And he's saying if the military leaders in Niger also consider some form of a transition, then it will be more acceptable to the ECOWAS and all that. He did mention also that there seems to be a rush spreading across Africa of military takeovers, because he did mention what happened in Gabon. So I think this is a more measured approach. It sounds to me like he has listened to some other perspectives and points of view and recognizes the very dangerous impacts economically and socially that a war in Niger could have on the entire sub-region, including in Nigeria. I'm happy to hear that the president is using more measured words in addressing that situation. That is a sovereign country, and they have rights in international law about how their country will be run. Nobody else can push Nigeria around. Nigeria shouldn't be part of anywhere pushing anybody else around.
Okay, well said, AB. Let's move on now to get Joseph Obari's contribution. And this is also related in a way, the next headline we're picking up this morning. So Joseph, would like you to give us take an eagle shot if you can on this one. I expect your shot will be accurate on this one. So let's see an eagle, what it looks like on this story right now. Give us this one, and it's taken, do this one from the Punch newspaper. Chief of Army Staff meets foreign defense advisors, seeks collaboration.
I think this is a very, very good step to start on. It's never happened before, even from the report itself, that our defense chiefs think they should engage stakeholders, foreign stakeholders in this manner. The attaché or the defense advisor from India who spoke on behalf of others at that meeting noted that they had had interactions with our defense outfits at a one-on-one level separately, but it was the first time they were all pulling together to have discussion. And from the tone of the engagement, you can tell that there are concerns about foreign infiltration and possible terrorist concerns. This is security. They may not put everything out there. I'm sure much of what has been discussed at that meeting, we may never be privy to them. But importantly, Nigeria is in a very dire state. They are dire straits right now from security point of view. Internally, we are being buffeted from every angle with criminality. and getting a pressure from international across the international border will even just worsen the situation, especially what is happening in the northeast, where Boko Haram has invariably entrenched itself. So it's a very welcome development to see that our defense chiefs are engaging foreign counterparts on how they can collaborate and draw synergy to be able to tackle some of these challenges. Security remains one of Nigeria's #1 challenge today, and it's getting worse. It's been getting worse. We want to see a paradigm shift in the way we tackle security in this country. So wherever we can pull ideas and efforts from, it will be very, very important to do so. And if the new defense chiefs have had this wisdom to begin to have such interactions, then it portends good for us as a country.
So, AB, before we go on to your story now, we looked at what the president was saying when he was interacting, saying the military option is off the table for now. You have to go in to persuade them. And see also what the defense chief is also saying here after meeting the attaches of these different countries. So it would seem like for the very first time in weeks since the president came on board, it seemed like they're speaking from one hymn book as it looks right now. Look in a different environment, but yet see how the statements are converging towards a particular direction.
Correct. And for me, what is most important in all these multilateral conversations is that the uppermost interests of Nigeria are maintained. You have to understand that each country has its own interests, but Nigeria's interest must be primary and paramount in every conversation. So we should not accept, influence from anybody to do things in a hasty manner that would be negatively affecting us. That is what matters the most to me.
Now, it's the good place for us to dig into the Vanguard newspaper this morning, where the headline is coming now, away from security matters. Federal government to shut down Murtala Mohammed Airport, that's in Lagos, suspends contracts concessions. That's according to the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, we've seen the visuals of the new aviation minister googled up, reminding you of the Abacha kind of Google, but then speaking tough.
Now, clearly, the FG has decided to take what I would call the nuclear option. There could have been a possibility of a gradual transformation of the terminal, but anybody who has traveled through that old terminal will recognize and admit that it is rather the worse for wear after decades of use and, let's say, not the best maintenance. So they have said, everybody move out, so that there is, if you will, clear space for a lot of renovation and maintenance work to be done. Being a lawyer, the minister knows the impact and effect of suspending contracts and concessions, but I guess this has all been computed into the overall project. And when you consider that an airport is often the first face that a country gives to foreigners coming in, or even to their locals returning, I would say this is a long overdue project. I hope that the best world standards in practice on project management will be applied. Remember, we can do projects. There was a time we did or maintained a second runway in Abuja, and they gave us a timeline and it was delivered during the last administration. So if we use that same kind of intensity to do this renovation, we can get good results at the end of the day. I would like to see all the services and systems upgraded. You shouldn't come from a 7, 8, 12-hour international flight in a controlled environment in an airplane and land in a Nigerian airport and begin to sweat on the spot. You shouldn't be walking and seeing pools of water from leaking roofs. You should be able to go confidently onto an escalator and not feel that your life is at peril. These were just some of the things. There should be seats and other things. So it's a good project. I hope that this nuclear option will yield the results we desperately need so that our first port of call for foreigners will at least align somewhat with other international airports around the world.
This one leads me now to Joseph Obari this morning with this headline from the Guardian newspaper, and we expect you to help us comb through this headline and pick out the gray areas as we get into it. Minister orders proper documentation of expatriates, warns against jailbreaks.
You know, first of all, when you hear this kind of headline, then it suggests that there is something wrong with the documentation of foreigners in this country.
That's why I say come through this for us.
Yeah, so you can see that what has happened in Nigeria, as in most other cases, is that we have a way of sabotaging everything we do. You know, so the government comes up with a policy, but then you find somebody in the public office who thinks that his own personal interest overrides the national interest. So people can take bribes, clear foreigners who are not meant to be in this country to do the work that Nigerians can do. And this happened several times. So people, organizations in Nigeria, hire Nigerians who go on to subvert our national interest by bribing, doing whatever they can to ensure that expatriates they're bringing in who should not ordinarily be working in Nigeria come in and they do the work that Nigerians are supposed to do. So if the minister is speaking like this, he's very, very much conversant with what's happening. And of course, he also addressed the other issue of in reviewing certain agreements that the Nigerian Immigration Service has entered into with other countries, such agreements as visa reciprocity and also a visa on arrival with some countries and so on. There is an existing policy on that, which they launched in 2020 rather, which is in existence. But then, of course, if he wants to look at it and see how well it's operated and how effectively it is serving Nigerian interests, and I highlighted a quote here where he said, "My daughter waited for 6 months to get her passport booklet," and
that's
alluded to. That's the challenges he had as a person, as a public figure, to even get his passport. And then how Nigerians are treated abroad in our embassies. If you have heard stories from people outside this country on how the embassy officials harass them, treat them, bully them, call them names, insult them, then you know that there is the whole of the immigration system, particularly even our diplomatic system abroad, needs thorough overhauling. So what we are seeing, let it not be that, oh, these are the early days of ministers, they are just visiting places, making statements and all that, just shaking. And we've had a minister who went on the roads and started weeping in the past, and all of that, just after they were appointed, and afterwards, nothing really happens. So let's see people walk the talk and actually deliver service and value to Nigerians.
Oh, how did I miss that the minister wept? But I can never forget that a certain governor cried. But anyway, in the cabinet. So I just want to throw this in there because in the course of the week, I didn't even know this headline was going to pop up. There was this woman, she's based in the UK. She's one of his countries. So she showed, she displayed a passport of her daughter who's 5. She's 5 now. So I think she needs to switch the part because she's come of age now. And she's a Nigerian. So she was not even calling the attention of the Nigerian embassy and the government to say, look, it's less than a week. All she did was, it was email. She got it in our email box. She didn't even have to go through those hassles of what you just mentioned now. How Nigerians abroad are dehumanized in the process of getting service from their embassy. So I just thought to throw that in there quickly because
it's true.
matches
They
what
just
you are
deliver
saying.
your passport by mail to you if you need be. I mean, most countries do that. They just deliver it by courier or whatever. So we can do these things if we mean to do them.
All right, let's get to bring in the listener this hour also to let them know they can send in the WhatsApp messages to 0809-444-0981, 0809-444-0981. I've got Dan Okuda, who is already waiting to get the message in. He says, good morning, the crew. Upgrading our airports to meet international best practices is a priority project. The minister should be supported in this regard. And that's Barrister Dan Okuda from Igondo. And of course, that much AB had alluded to meet standards. That's what you mentioned. So we're on the same page in this one. So let's get into this next story, AB. Federal government, states, local government areas share 4.37 trillion naira in 6 months. That's according to NAITI. And the story is coming from the Punch newspaper.
Okay, this story is what I call a numbers-rich story, and I will not dwell on the numbers because anybody can get their phone and get the precision on the numbers. Rather, it's the philosophy behind the story. FG, states, and LGs share. In my humble opinion, that sharing is the bane of Nigerian life and the reason why we do not progress as a nation. Everybody just waits for 30 odd days. Then assorted government officials send their commissioner of finance literally on his belly to Abuja with a cup to beg for their share of money. Money that in many cases, they have absolutely no clue where it came from, how it originated. Therefore, they don't have a sense of responsibility. And then they slither back to their states and begin to distribute it in ways that are often held unaccountable. That sharing is the problem with Nigeria. In a federal system, ideally, each state should generate revenue and pay central taxes to the FG, not the other way around. Now, you have that. Then you hear this huge number, 4.37 trillion in 6 months. Look around you as a Nigerian. Do you perceive that 4.37 trillion has been expended in your life? It's an open question. In many situations, we have seen video upon video. We have had personal life experiences in and around this country where we do not experience and enjoy government support and services, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in education, whether it's in infrastructure. So we talk about sharing, which I think is a curse on Nigeria. Then we talk of sums of money that are not really, you cannot really account for. At the end of the day, we do have some high dollar, high naira items. These are typically associated with the leadership class for their comfort and convenience and security. But you have these, NEITI has told us about these numbers. You have percentages up, percentages down. The question at the end of when the rubber hits the road, how much of this 4.37 trillion do you, as a Nigerian listener, perceive to have you experienced any of that in your life? Or are the hardships increasing? And if there's that dichotomy between these huge numbers and your life, then there is a huge gap that needs to be closed. Our leaders have to focus those amounts at federal, state, and especially local government levels on the lives and benefit of Nigerians. In my opinion, I do not see the connection. These numbers mean literally nothing to me. I do not feel them in my day-to-day life.
On the notes you dropped up on the notes, the imageries, while you broke this story down for us, is what still lingers in my mind. Thank you. Yes, that's it. And then it's ending towards a swallow kind of culture. That's what I was just trying to unbundle as you walk us down the story. But thank you very much, AB. Yes, read again like a Pepe Clark story, poetry somewhere I've seen, but that's for some other day. But let's move on to get bring in Joseph this time to look at the Guardian newspaper for us this morning. And this one is the headline saying, Lagos government receives 5,624 sexual gender-based violence cases in the last 1 year, that is. Does this trouble you, Joseph?
It is really alarming. And this is a state where there's a bit more of documentation and data collection at all. In most cases, sexual offenses, sexual violence, or domestic violence and things related to that are grossly underreported in most places and parts of the country where stigma is still attached to crimes related to sexual offenses and so on. In some cases, families that definitely just hide incidents like this, and keep them under wraps because they feel it is embarrassing to the family to disclose that a child has been defiled by a relative and so on. And most of the time, these incidents happen with people who are trusted. Most of the time, it could be within the family, it could be from the husband, it could be anybody else, a relative, a male relative. And this is not to ignore the fact that men also can become victims of violence of this nature, domestic violence and sexual violence. It all depends on the circumstance. But the key thing here is that we need to begin to address the root cause of these problems. I don't think a lot of thought is being given to what is causing these changes in the behavior of people towards. I mean, it seems like sex is now overrated. I don't know. It's common everywhere. Pornography is everywhere in your face. Younger people are exposed to it. It's all over there and on the social media, everywhere. So when you don't have controls and the values that we always had in the past, those inhibitions are no longer there. People are throwing everything. It's just too much, particularly for younger people who haven't really formed those strong pillars of moral value that can hold them to be able to have self-control. Then it's a problem. So beyond just the statistics, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Now, also, in addition, while you mentioned how the rising cases will be as a result of social media, it's in our face, has it also troubled you the prevalence of aphrodisiac virtually at every park right now?
Oh,
that
it's becoming
prevalent?
I mean, it comes in various forms. They are advertised. I mean, there is no control. You go, if you're in a park, they tell you this one can give you this number of hours and all those kind of things. And there are even supplements everywhere that they claim can do this and do that and do that. And people get sold on this. And the health implication of some of these drugs are not even clearly spelled out. Some of them people have died just taking these things, hoping to be so strong, and then the next thing, their heart can't take it anymore. So there is a need for serious enlightenment. And there is no drug you take that for a man that can elongate your reproductive organ. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. But then there are messages of that kind. And when people take these things and they're charged up, of course, it must find expression somehow. And that's where some of the causes of this problem.
Okay, but then it looks like Lagos is having this head start, as you mentioned. There is availability of data, and of course, this is coming to light because there is an event. The whole of September is slated to be what you call Domestic and Sexual Violence Awareness Month in Lagos. So you can see
in Lagos.
This is just Lagos reporting. We don't know of other states what their figures are like.
Other states need to also copy. Lagos has always been in the vanguard of most of this, and the other states need to learn from this too.
Well, thanks for the compliments, at least for saying Lagos is leading in that, in terms of awareness and all of those. But let's move on now. And Let's bring AB in this morning as we begin to wrap up the show this morning. We're expecting more messages. If they come in on 0809-444-0981, get them in. We still got a couple of minutes to take them if they come in. So this one is from the Premium Times. Reps will end economic sabotage, ensure transparency in tax system. That's the Speaker of the House speaking.
Anything, many of the modern economies supported by tax revenues, which, these are received when you properly structure and monitor the tax system. In fact, in the US, they say two things are certain: death and taxes. That shows you how seriously they consider taxes. You can do all sorts of things in the US. The last thing you should do is not pay your taxes. That is almost the biggest unforgivable sin. I think the president once talked about widening the tax net, the current president, and that is a good thing because a number of people seem to pay the most tax, especially a few companies that have proper records. With the NIN and other such numbers, it should be more possible to track who is paying what, how, and when. And in this particular story, the reps are saying they want to inspect the system of tax incentives that certain companies have been benefiting from. There have been rumors of certain companies, very large named companies, that get one tax incentive, then when it's about to end, they quickly start another one. And that's how they defer the payment of taxes for years, if not decades. So they are saying they want to look into it because it seems to be one of many forms of economic sabotage, and they want to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness. I applaud, I approve. And when I hear the word accountability, transparency, and fairness, it would be great for those reps to hold up a mirror in front of themselves and also tell us about their income so that there's more transparency and accountability, so that we're able to assess whether the work they are doing for the Nigerian people is equivalent to the results the Nigerian people are getting for paying them whatever they're earning. And we're not talking about just their base salaries. We're talking about all they get as remuneration. But again, it's important to establish what tax incentives exist, to whom and for what. And there should surely be time frames so that you have a tax incentive 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. After that, you should start paying your taxes ordinarily. So this is a good incentive.
Thank you.
A good initiative. I think it's well worth pursuing.
Thank you very much. Joseph, please, you would give us, as you hit the fairway with this one now, and this story from the Premium Times, I'd like you to do this one because we must mention it. Nigerian military kills 39 terrorists, arrests 157 others. We're on the home stretch already. Close us up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, that's a kudos to our military that they are achieving this feat. But then this is, like I said before, insecurity is still a major challenge in the country, and whatever success they can achieve is very much appreciated. But I want to talk from the point of view as a media person, and oftentimes when I read reports about what military have done, it's as if our journalists now begin to speak military language. They eliminate, they evaporate, they do this. I mean, journalists should just write news, for goodness sake, straight to the point. Tell us terrorists were killed, they were eliminated, they were interdicted. And what's interdiction? What does it mean? And just on the media point of view, I think that we need to begin to be able to communicate with the audience in a way that people can understand. But whatever achievements is recorded by our people, great deal. I mean, we need it, everything we can do. And the new administration is concerned about this. Thanks.
Thank you. So, quickly.
One very quick thing I'm happy about is that they said they killed 39 terrorists. I don't want to hear all that other softing, no, anybody attacking a Nigerian is a terrorist. So when you kill them, that's a good thing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. But let's close with the messages. Emeka from Amuwo says large incidences of Sexual-based violence is quite a common thing in Lagos. One happened in my very presence this morning in Ikotun. I hope you're reaching out to the authorities, the Lagos State Sexual and Domestic Violence Agency. You can reach out to them to report that a male keke rider slapped a female rider just because she insulted him over passengers. The good thing is that resulted was that a lot of people there came to our defense. And final message coming from Anthony Francis, Keyamo putting a halt to the Nigerian Airways thing is hitting the bullseye. And that to me is very good start and a milestone. It deserves more applause. Tony from Marine Beach. And next, Jackson Ubine from Lagos. Good morning, crew. A situation where people pay tax and they don't see or feel the result of the taxes they pay in terms of infrastructure and service delivery will discourage a lot of people. Jackson Ubine from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you, Joseph Obari, for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir. When are you going to play?
Thank you. Okay, just give me an invite. I'll just come over I'll come over and play. I'll tee you up somewhere. Don't worry when I come to Abuja. Thank you, AB Bozimo.
Thank you. The pleasure and privilege are always mine. Do have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Bye.
Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody. Lagos, all the best. Stay safe.
Thanks to everyone who sent in their messages. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning. Bye.